for your answer. I listened to your analysis. We'll have to debate this at another time, the last portion of your response. Question for you, Madam. Have you had the time to look at the budget tabled yesterday, and would you have comments to make? Forgive me, I will answer in English. I have to practice my French, but today isn't perhaps the best opportunity for that.
I have skimmed the budget, and I'm cautiously optimistic, as are many others in this room. I am thrilled by the amount of investment that is going to be going into this sector. In terms of how that capital is actually deployed remains to be seen, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I do hope that the pendulum swings a little bit from historically supporting the international community in the development and production of their own IP, and hope to swing more towards our intellectual property and our sovereign industrialization and capability. But otherwise, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay, je vous remercie. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Falk, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to our witnesses, both online and here in person, for your testimony. Dr. Inston, I'll start with you a little bit. You talked about our IP capabilities here in Canada and how that's all being exported. Nobody's capitalizing on that here. Can you just briefly expand on that?
I have many friends who are incredibly talented entrepreneurs who have not been able to get Canadian investors on their capitalization tables. I'll step back for a second. Venture capital as a whole is a model that was proven out in defense. This is something that's not talked about much at all, but a Harvard professor actually started the first venture capital fund after World War II to invest in World War II technologies. And the return on those investments is what really kicked off the model as a whole. Now, Canada and Europe and everywhere else was slower to adopt this type of model. And so we don't think about that history in the context of our defense spending and our investment. But we will see huge returns on that investment if we do invest in Canadian defense. But without that history, without having been part of that start at the inception of VC, we don't yet understand that. And so when my Canadian friends, I think of, Matt at Allo, Cam at Centradel. These are two Canadians that are building defense companies, and they are backed by American investors. The other thing is that we simply don't have since we don't have well-funded startups here in Canada, the new talent is going to the States. And so I actually often recommend Canadian recent grads with amazing resumes to startups in the States that are building defense technologies, because we simply don't have spaces here for them.
Okay. Good, thanks. Dr. Luprick, thank you for your testimony. You, back in 2022, you were at Government Operations Committee, and you made a comment there about just throwing money at something doesn't fix the problem. And you were in specific talking about defense procurement. We've seen a lot of money thrown at it in this budget. There aren't a lot of details. But this Defense Procurement Agency, known now as the Defense Investment Agency, do you see that as a solution, or is that adding one more level of bureaucracy, which is going to even make it more difficult to be successful?
Well, you probably know what Chairman Mao said about the consequence of the French Revolution when he was asked, right? The famous quote that it is too early to tell. So I think we'll need to see. I think on the one hand, the Defense Investment Agency has the potential to underwrite precisely the challenges that Dr. Inston has laid out. In particular, we're not good, especially for small and medium enterprises, and especially in the defense sector, at underwriting that. And when we do have successful company, what happens? They get bought by the Americans. So we just become the startup pool that then ultimately, so invest tax dollars and then it gets bought up. So we need to do better. I think the Defense Investment Agency has the potential to underwrite. We've done this a little bit with the IDEAS program in national defense, but I think we need something equivalent to the US DARPA. So high risk, high return investments in defense. And this relates to sort of this, we have a very low risk tolerance in general in Canada when it comes to capital, when it comes to politics, when it comes to finance. And I think done well, the Defense Investment Agency can change that.
Really depend on the mandate and the policies established within that agency.
If the agency is simply about generating jobs in ridings across the country, as often these development agencies are, I think we might create a few jobs, but it's not going to generate this sort of transformation that we ultimately need to safeguard our sovereignty.
The other thing you indicated to the Government Operations Committee at that time is that you think that the F-35 goes a long way in meeting our needs as a deterrent. Are you still of that opinion?
So this is absolutely key, what you just pointed out, because we talk about defense and defense investments, but we don't want to invest in defense. We don't want to defend anything, right? This is the whole point, that we want to deter our adversaries. We want to change their minds, right? Because when we have to defend, that's going to be politically, economically, socially, exceptionally costly. We know this as Canadians. We were there from day one in World War I and World War II. That is the reason. We know what happens in Europe when the Europeans decide to fight their wars right down to the last Canadian. And we don't want to go there again. And this is ultimately why we're investing in deterrence with the sort of know-how and capabilities that we have in collaboration with our European allies, because we can provide a lot of the ecosystem that they are looking for.
Provides that deterrence?
The F-35 is a critical signal to the United States that we are a trusted and loyal ally when it comes to the defense of the continent. And the defense of the continent is about protecting our sovereign decision-making, and it's about protecting extended nuclear deterrence, because we can't protect extended nuclear deterrence, we'll get nuclear proliferation among allies and partners, and that can't possibly be in our interest. The F-35 is indispensable to this end.
Thank you very much, Mr. Falk.